Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us again today. I know you heard on the intro there that it was Rob and Sandy, but today Sandy's away. So joining me as co-host, you know him well, Quentin D'Souza. Welcome, Quentin.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rob.
And for those of you who don't know Quentin, but if you listen to the show, I'm sure you do. He's been on several times. He runs the Durham Real Estate Investors Club, and he is the chief education officer over there, written a bunch of books, very, very active real estate investor. And thank you again for, filling the chair.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, always working on the real estate portfolio. That's my full-time gig. Lots of fun. We're at 80 million in assets, almost 400 doors now. So that's and keep growing. We got like a 94 unit building under contract, and I got a 12 unit building closing next week. So been doing this since 2004, right? It's been fun. All right.
And I always have said that, if it wasn't for you, Quentin, I wouldn't even be in real estate investing. So, I've got to give you that. I got to give you those props.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, you know what? It was those ads for We Buy Houses that got us together, right? So
something like that. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I was starting to dabble in wholesaling. I certainly hadn't done anything again before I met you, but all of those courses and the education that you offered at Durham REI helped out a lot when I was getting going. That's for sure. So
awesome.
Hey, everybody listening knows this already, but you should go over to breakthroughreipodcast.ca. There you can listen to all the episodes that we've done with Quentin. I think there's 5 or something like that now. I don't know. He's been on there a bunch of times, and every other guest that we've had on, they've all had really good information over the years. 7+ years now, Quentin.
Wow, that's insane. Craziness.
Makes me feel old. But yeah, 7+ years packed with education from all kinds of guests, on all kinds of topics. So everything real estate, go over there. And you can also get our free gift. Oh boy, now I'm put on the spot. What's it called? Sandy always does this part. Let me see what it's called.
Well, see, I can't replace him. I can only stand in, right? There you go.
Well, we have our free gift on the website. It's called The Ultimate Strategy for Building Wealth Through Real Estate. I've read it several times, obviously, but not in the past little while. But Sandy's always one that says that. Yeah, The Ultimate Strategy for Building Wealth Through Real Estate. And you'll get on our email list. So just go over and sign up, breakthroughreipodcast.ca. And of course, go over to iTunes and leave us a rating and review. That always helps us get out there to more people and grow a wider audience of people who are looking for this free information that we offer here. So get over there, leave us a rating and review. Quentin, you've left us a rating and review,
right? Absolutely, I have. Yes, sir.
Have you?
Yeah, I did. Okay. I've reviewed, I rated. It was a good one, I gotta say. It was good.
Yeah, 5 stars, right?
5 stars.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And it wasn't hard, right? You just went over it. You click a couple buttons. It takes, 30 seconds. Or, you can rate us, you can spend a couple more minutes, maybe like, I don't know, 3-4 minutes.
The other thing too is like share it with 2 friends, right? If you enjoyed it and you enjoy hearing our guest and you enjoy the podcast, make sure that you share it with other people, right? That way other people can get all that goodness and knowledge, and you can pass it on to the next person, right? It's all about pulling that next person up behind you, right? And
exactly.
That's what the podcast is. It's education and information, and we want to share that as much as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a time before I sort of learned that pulling people up is a better way than keeping everything to yourself. There was a time where I was sort of afraid to share a certain amount of information, right? You don't want to keep it close to your chest because it's valuable and you don't want to share it. But I mean, you get way more support from the universe or whatever you want to say when you just share, right? Just share.
Absolutely. You can't do all the deals, man. Like you can't buy all the, I know, although I'm trying, I cannot buy all the apartment buildings that are out there. It's just not possible, right? And you can't do all the deals. So you gotta be open, share what you know. And I find that karma, comes back to you too. And I gotta say, from Oshawa to Costa Rica, what a journey, man. You like, I can hear the birds in the background from Costa Rica. That's super cool.
It is, and it's been so much fun here. We're having the time of our lives, to be honest. We've like, I mean, people are asking me, and we're going super smooth at first. As far as like a first flip that we're doing here, we've got to build all of the like contacts for suppliers and
Yeah.
labor and whatever trades, all that stuff. So we're building a pretty decent Rolodex here, but there have been a couple of snags recently. So if I went over there today, I don't think anyone would be there because we're at a point where we're looking for some electrical supply that's apparently in short supply here in Costa Rica. And believe it or not, white concrete,
Huh.
white concrete, there's a run on it and you can't get it anywhere in the country right now. We don't think it'll be long, but so that's kind of putting a stop to our pool, which is turning out really, really nice. I put
Oh,
a
that's
pool in
awesome.
Ontario last summer,
Yeah.
and it was just the old steel with the liner. Not all that impressive, but we wanted to get a pool, and that was the option at the time. But here, it's the full on concrete, really nice finished coping and everything. It looks, is going to look beautiful. So I'm super impressed by that. Come
Oh,
out the
that's
back door,
awesome.
stairs right down into the pool. It's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you're starting again, right? So like, you're going to start again with all your contacts and everything like that. But like,
mm,
it sounds like it's great. I remember moving into the US and starting to buy property in the US and growing that. It was like starting again too, like all your contacts, all your financing people, all your brokers, all your everything starts again, right? But
yeah.
you just got the experience now. And so, that will help you to grow and get bigger if you want to do that, and super awesome. So cool. So
Yeah, and I just wanted to say too that if anyone is interested, I did just post an update on YouTube on the Flip project. So just like yesterday, I think I posted it. So if anyone's interested, there is a little bit of an update on a walkthrough of the Flip house.
awesome.
So go over to
Very
YouTube
cool.
and just put my name in, and it'll come up. But we're not here
Awesome.
to talk about me. We're here to talk
No.
about you and our guest. So, Quentin, I mean, you mentioned a couple of things right there. We kind of like blew through it, but since last we talked, there's been a couple of things that you've had going on. So, share with us.
Sure. Just a couple of things. One is I've started my own podcast, which is getrealwealthy.com. And it's just a little bit about some insights and education that I want to share. I stopped coaching, which was something that I felt like it had started to take on too many hours of my time. And I didn't think $500 an hour was worth my time. So I focused more on building my real estate portfolio. And since I stopped coaching at the beginning of January, I've bought over $40 million of real estate that I own 50% of. So that's like it's a super great way of. So I basically doubled my portfolio size, right? And I've
Yeah,
got
yeah. So, sounds like a good move. Moving away from one thing. Sometimes you got to give it up, and I know
yep.
you love it, right? I know you
Yeah,
love
I
the
do. I
coaching.
love it. I
Yeah.
do. It's teaching because that's, I was a teacher for 20 years and at heart, I'm still a teacher, but there are better ways to do it, like podcasts, right? It's a great way to still be able to help people and educate, but it's one to many versus one to one, which is just something I can't do anymore. It's not, no,
Mm.
not what I can do. So it's a great opportunity for me. And now I've got, like I said, I'm closing on a 12 unit building next week, and we've got a 94 unit building under contract, great cap rate, lots of room for upside. It's going to be awesome. So And we'll probably close on that in 2022, just early 2022, if everything goes the way I hope. And that'll be a great start for the year, right? So yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome stuff. And I'm really excited about our guest here. So this is Ross Nedaee. Ross is a real estate agent. He's an investor from the Niagara region. He's focusing on pre-construction and multifamily investments. After closing his first ever property in Toronto in 2020, Ross scaled his portfolio very rapidly with investing experience across multiple cities in Southern Ontario. Ross is primarily a long-term buy and hold investor and has used his buy, renovate, refinance, and rent strategy to acquire 8 properties. That's 20 units. He has a podcast, Real Estate Golden Nuggets, as well as a YouTube channel dedicated to helping investors break mindset barriers and educate them on how to invest or scale up their portfolio to achieve financial freedom. So without further ado, here's Ross.
Yeah, welcome, Ross. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and a complete honor to be here, especially with Quentin and Rob. So very excited about this.
I appreciate you taking the time and putting up with our scheduling debacle that happened trying to get you on here. So I know we rescheduled and moved you a couple of times. So I'm just glad that we can finally sit down and talk now. So thank you again for taking the time to be here.
Now, you know what? I had a question for you. Your background is a little different, right? So you're an Afghan, and when did you come to Canada? Just a little bit about that background would be kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Yes, my background, I'm from Afghanistan. I came to Canada around, I think, 2000, August of 2000. So been here for I guess majority of my life, you can say. I practically grew up here. I was around 10 years old when we came to the country. So as you know, there's what's happening back home is very drastic, and it's sad to see that our country seems to be always progressing, or that always gets held back somehow, some way or another, and it goes back 20 years. It's a repeated cycle, vicious cycle, unfortunately. But grateful to be here, have the opportunity to make something out of myself, right? And you know what, like that was my mindset from the beginning, was like, listen, like my parents went through a lot to get me here. They were really big on their kids, right? They came here for freedom, for peace of mind. And so the whole, idea behind this whole thing was education. And my parents wanted me to have a better life than they ever had, and opportunities they could never get from their home country, right? So but given that, came here, I was really focused on my education, made sure I had high grades, get that degree, get into the corporate ladder, right, and try to make something out of myself. And then as many of us realize that unfortunately that's not the only way, or probably the best way to get where you want, especially if you're looking to achieve financial freedom. So that's when I kind of started looking around and speaking to certain folks, and real estate was something always back in my mind, but I never really understood how someone like Quentin can have 400 units. Like it's just to me, it was like impossible. It's like, wow, like how are these people doing it? But I think, like you said earlier, Quentin, like it's all about education, right? It's about mindset and education, because if there's a will, there's a way, as we like to say. And that's the reality of it, right? So the more you connect with folks who are in the business and you learn from their experiences, the more you understand and you get encouragement to say, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it.
One thing I want to just say is that, coming from Afghanistan, you must have like a really early memory of that. Like there's got to be something that you remember.
You know what? I was actually 3 years old when we left the country. So because of the war, we migrated to Pakistan. So I actually lived in Pakistan for about 6 years. But yeah, funny enough, like when I sit down with my parents, when they asked me, like, what do you remember? I faintly remember like our house, where we used to live. And I specifically remember like our bedroom. And then the way I describe it, my mom is like shocked. She's like, you were like 2-3 years old. How do you remember this? Right? It's certain memories like that always stick with you for your entire life, I think. So I do have a bit of memory, but I would love to get an opportunity one day to go back and actually see it for myself, because I know it has changed a lot, but it still has a lot of beauty and areas that I definitely want to check out and never had an opportunity before.
Yeah, absolutely. Geez, I don't even know what to say about what's going on there right now. It's just so it's all over the news, and it's tough to figure out exactly what's what, really. I mean, there's
Correct.
stories of, is it successful, is it not successful? I have my own opinion on whether or not it is. I mean, it clearly doesn't seem to be, but
Right.
if you if you ask government officials, they seem to have different ideas. But yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about it to get in too deep, but it's certainly, hopefully, something that can level off a little bit, at least, so you can go back there and check out what's
Yeah,
happening.
I know that's all we all hope for. But you know what it is? Like, again, I'm just not to be a bias, but like to give my opinion of it, is just that the country itself is very mineral rich. We have like all sorts of minerals in the world that is in that country. So for whatever reason, everybody's after it, whether it's, US. Well, I'm not gonna name the countries, but there's always somebody there, and they have a purpose to be there, right? Like, think about it logically, right? If you're a $1 trillion company, let's just say, in terms of business, why would you put any sort of money and time or effort by sending your soldiers overseas for 20 or 10 years if there's nothing to come out of it for you? Just logically, right? There has to be some sort of reason, whether it's political, whether it's, financial, whatever it may be. But I think that's the biggest reason. And I think what's happening now, we don't know who's behind it. I can't really comment on that, but I would think it definitely has to do, again, with the minerals and the resources and the money. That's what's keeping peace out of the country.
That's very interesting that you're saying that. But coming to Canada, you must have had, or your family too, just a shock at the type of opportunities that would be available, right? Because I know the immigrant story is the same from family to family. And we were immigrants too, coming to Canada, and the possibilities that you have versus the possibilities where you're coming from, whether it's Pakistan or Afghanistan, like what the opportunities are starkly different, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and what you're able to achieve here, and just 20 plus units and 8 properties, and compared to what you would have been able to achieve in your home country where you started from, right? Just totally different, eh?
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
let's dig in a little bit then about, you mentioned, you were looking into other things, and then you discovered real estate. So let's talk a little bit about how, what got you started. How did you get that bug and all of that stuff?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So it actually started with the Bible, Rich Dad Poor Dad, as everybody likes to say that, right? A friend of mine, actually, his dad is a realtor, and I really look up to him. He has an entrepreneurial mindset. He also went to school and got himself educated, but then he kind of decided to go on his own path, and he does more the e-commerce platform. However, one day him and I connected after a while, and he said, "Hey, you know what? You got to read this book." He's like, "It's going to change your perspective in life, right?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I did that. I actually read it, and I realized, oh my goodness, there's like assets, there's liabilities, there's leverage, and the whole concept. I know I'm sure everybody talks about it a lot, but the way it's written, it's very simple, right? It's the storytelling, which I think really has an impact on any reader that reads it, because you can just relate to it on different levels, especially given my background, right? The poor dad and the rich dad, right? You want to be the rich dad, right? So that definitely resonated with me. And sometimes in life, connecting with people also leads to better opportunities. So the same friend I'm talking about, he's my best friend, Hussein. He mentioned to me that there's this upcoming project coming up in Toronto, and it's $500 a month for a condo, waterfront. Like, that's all I needed to hear from him. I'm like, I'm sold. Like, where do I go sign up? Like, that's all I wanted to know, right? His dad obviously knew the project, and so for the next day we go, I signed the papers, the documents, didn't look at the floor plan, didn't even know where it was located. As soon as I heard waterfront, Toronto, I'm like, listen, there's no way it's gonna lose. Like, it's gonna appreciate. So by the time it's built, I'm either going to be living in it, or I can turn around, sell it, or I can place tenant. That all without even knowing nothing about the industry or how it works. I'm like, you know what, I'll figure it out. I have plenty of time. I just saw it in terms of an opportunity and affordability at that time, because the down payment was only $2,500, believe it or not.
Wow.
And then 500 monthly, which
Okay.
was, I'm like, even if I work at Tim Hortons on a part-time basis, I can afford that.
Right. But how long, usually the projects in Toronto, like how long did it take to actually get built? That's one of the things that nobody's talking about, right? So
Yeah, no, very good question. Yeah, this one got numerous delays, and it took about, I think, 7 years to close. So to your point,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So like I
But
put
you're
my money
laughing
down.
at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? But again, it worked out for me for my lifestyle, because I had just graduated university. I didn't really know what I wanted in a career and so forth, but I just figured I might as well park my money somewhere. So by the time it does get built, obviously they told us 4 years at the time, but it got delayed another three. But it worked out at the end, because the appreciation took in, right, like drastically. So I was able
Yeah.
to basically close on it, take a line of credit, and then use a line of credit now to purchase additional property. So it did kind of set me up. I wish it was a little bit earlier. It would have been better for a lifestyle, but I think in terms of investment, it worked out fairly well for me.
oh, that's awesome.
And so it actually closed when?
It closed in June of 2020. So
June of 2020.
I got
And
occupancy in October, but officially closed in June, because they always, condos, they give you about 3 or 4 months earlier, right?
so in the meantime, so when did you read? Okay, sorry, I'm trying to get a timeline here. So
Yeah.
did you learn about this and then run out and invest in the condo?
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I messed up the timelines a little bit. No, so the condo came first.
Okay.
Rich Dad Poor Dad came literally in, I always say in 2020 is when I read it. That's when he would told me the book. So I messed up the timeline. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm just trying to clear things up in my head too here. Okay, so once this place closed, then you were sort of the mindset already to take, to whatever you said, take the line of credit and go reinvest it. So that's
Yeah,
what you did from that point.
that's
Yeah,
right. But even before that, Rob, I didn't know that you could even do that. Like I had
Oh
no
yeah,
idea that you
a
could
lot of
take a
people
line of
don't know
credit.
that.
Right. And that I thought, oh, you know what? It's one property at a time. You're supposed to buy a property. You're supposed to get it, mortgage, pay off the mortgage, save the money, and then you go buy another property, right? Like that was the mindset, right? And then once I got introduced to folks that are in the business, right, like mortgage agents and so forth, speaking to them, talking to them about how they're leveraging money, I was blown away. I was introduced to a completely different world, because in this industry, it's all about leveraging, right? It's all about leveraging, especially money. And yeah, I had no idea that I could do that. So once I figured that out, I started listening to podcasts, right? Bigger Pockets was a big influencer. I really liked, the way they pitched the ideas and everything, but I didn't really relate to it, just because it's a little bit of US content. So I started looking for Canadian content, and then there was a few podcasts that I came across. I listened to. Sarah Larby was one, Andrew Hines, yourself. And I just literally sat down like a sponge and just absorbed everything, like all the guests that were featured. And I did one more thing that I feel like a lot of people are very afraid of, and that is reaching out to these folks. So if you look at my Instagram now, all those guests are literally my connections. So what better way to connect with somebody than, have them even on the podcast or go for coffee, whatever it may be, right? Give some sort of value, of course. I know everybody's busy, but like that was my way of basically getting into the network of investors and learning from them. And then that's how I got introduced to Sean Ray. I know you had Sean Ray on your podcast as well. And I was looking at Niagara at that time, because I was looking at somewhere where I can buy something that's a little bit more affordable than GTA, of course. And Niagara was on my radar at that time. So connecting with him kind of gave me the courage to now take on the next action, which is investing in multifamily.
so when you're saying multifamily, you're saying the 1 to 4 units, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you said that you were getting into buildings in 2020. So that means that those 20 units or 8 properties were done in the last 2 years. That's awesome. So like, what got you into BREI, like buy, renovate, refinance, and rent? What got you into that strategy? Because it's not usually where people start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So same thing. Like I started listening to all these podcasts, and everybody's talking about the BREI. They explain how it works, how you calculate it, right? Till this day, I use Andrew Hines' calculator, right? Like he has a spreadsheet to do my assessment and my analysis. And I think the biggest thing is like taking action. I think that was my biggest success, I would say, and I'm still taking action on things that I'm not 100% confident on, but you know what? I know I can figure it out. And I think that's what it is. You need to have a little bit of leap of faith in yourself, and just keep going. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I had a Francois Lantier on my podcast, and I love his quote. He said, "What's the worst that can happen? You die." He's like, I'm not even afraid of that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess you die if the building falls on you, but if you got other bank problems, maybe you don't die. But yeah, okay, cool.
Listen, man, I don't know about you, but I don't want to die. So, like, come on. Listen,
well,
I
that's
didn't,
never
I didn't
the
build this
goal, but
portfolio so that I can just like, no way, man. But whatever.
no, but I'm just saying, it's just
Yeah,
it's just the mentality, right? It's like you
Yeah.
gotta just believe in, like, I think real estate is a God-given, like, bulletproof investment, in my opinion. I can't think of anything else that is more lucrative, not only just in terms of finances, but you can leverage the money, you can save so much on your taxes, right? It's literally free money, and it's the fastest way to get to financial freedom. And I'm seeing so many folks that prior to myself who's been doing it. So I'm just literally following their footsteps. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just following the process and successes that they had, and that's been working pretty well so far.
What people don't know is the barrier of entry for this kind of investment is relatively easily achievable too. It's like a lot of people don't have that mindset. They think that it's impossible. Like, look at the prices of houses. How am I supposed to do it?
Mhm.
Right. But again, it's just about setting a goal and then trying to work towards that goal. Whether you team up with somebody or whether you go into different kinds of investing in real estate, whatever it is,
Right.
as long as you set the goal, you're going to get there as long as you work consistently towards the goal.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and people have been saying that same thing for years, right? Like in 1975, they said, "Oh man, I don't think I'm going to be able to afford a house. The houses are too expensive." They said the same thing. In 1985, they said the same thing. 1995, they said the same thing. So let's focus on how to do it rather than how hard it is, right? And I think that's what you're doing when you're implementing a strategy like the BRRRR strategy. I know a guy who wrote a book on that. So like the ultimate wealth strategy book, right? And it's definitely, it's doable. You just have to, you can't say it's hard. You got to say, how can I get it done? How do I do it? Right. And you implementing that strategy is really cool. Like, so you must have, so you've probably seen the variations of how that strategy gets implemented, and there are home runs, and then there are like singles and doubles, right? That's the way I like to look at it. I'm a baseball guy. I don't know, but like, so you've got a home run, I'm sure, and you've got some singles and doubles in there. So maybe describe what a home run looks like and compare that to what be like a single or double.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'd love to talk about my first rental investment actually turned out to be a home run, which I'm very happy about. So this was the property that I purchased in Fort Erie. So prior to getting into that, I decided to get my realtor license because I've been in sales for, you can say, about 10 years or so now. So I've done numerous different jobs and everything, but real estate, again, was something that was always interested. So I figured, you know what, why don't I get my realtor license? I like to learn something on my own, right? Do something, follow my face, fail miserably at it, but learn from my mistakes and then show someone, hey, this is the way to do it, right? So they don't make the same mistake. So I figured being a realtor would kind of give me that insight into the industry knowledge, right? So giving access to MLS, for example, was a huge win for me, right? Because then I could do comparisons and so forth. So long story short, came across this property on MLS. It was listed for about $420. I passed on it a couple of times, but then decided to take a look at it. It was conditionally sold. spoke with the agent, and luckily, the person couldn't close due to finances, and they came back to me, and I ended up closing that property for $330,000. So from 420 to 330, yes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's more than 25%. That's
Especially
crazy.
in the last couple of years too.
Yeah, this was in November of 2020, so it was before the
there
crazy COVID hit.
A giant hole in the roof that nobody saw before, or something like that?
No, what I did with this one, Rob, is like I had it under contract. So they wanted 420. It was not worth 420. It was definitely worth 400. I got it locked in at 405. I had my inspection clause, so I did my walkthrough, did an inspection. The best part of this property was that 2 out of the 3 units were basically renovated, so I didn't have to do anything. And 2 out of the 3 were also vacant. So I get vacant possession, and I can put my own tenants, which was unbelievable, right? Just the upstairs was an older gentleman who has been here for a few years, but then he was acting like a property manager, let's say, right? He was kind of taking care of the units and so forth. So that's what I mean when I was a home run, because I got 2 units ready to go, and I have to do any sort of renovations. On top of it, when I went through the inspection, I came across numerous things that needed some sort of attention. They were not necessarily immediate, but I use that as a leverage in my negotiation to say, hey, you know what? You want this, but here's the reasons why I think that your property is worth this much, right? And truthfully, I was thinking of 350. I think 350 was a really good price range for both of us. But I have to have a conversation with Sean, actually, because I called him up, and then funny enough, he was looking at the same property, and he just said, you know what? Why don't you shoot your shot? Why don't you just give him 330? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? And the agent was shocked. He's like, so hold on, Ross, you're telling me you want me to present this to my client? And I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's just see what happens. And an hour later, he calls me. He's like, you won't believe this. He's actually going to accept that offer. He's willing to take it.
See, that's an example where a good realtor makes you money, right?
Correct.
Everybody thinks everything as a cost, but there is benefit to having a good realtor who knows the area and has a reputation, right? That's a good example. And you don't know, obviously another deal went through, right? And then it didn't come through. We're not sure, maybe was it a financing issue? Because if it was a financing issue, it could have been an appraisal issue. And it could have been something in that seller's head that was going, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't think he's going to get financing. So maybe I have to make a change. And that's a big change, but I'll still be able to get out of this deal, right? And then you're going, oh man, this is a great deal. Holy cow, let's get this quick.
I mean, it takes a certain amount of cojones, I guess, to even present that offer, So
Yeah,
it's something that I don't think most people would think to do, because it does really seem too drastic. So there's a little bit of a lesson too, I mean, just put it out there as what you would like to see, right?
for sure. And I definitely made sure that I had a really good relationship built already with the other agent, right? We were on the same page, right? So he needed this off his hands. The seller was unfortunately, I guess, wanted to offload because he was having some health concerns. I found that out later. I didn't even know about that, right? So to Quentin's point, the reason why I feel like he jumped on it fairly quickly was because he just wanted his money and out, because he needed the money desperately, sounded like, right? So it worked out to my advantage, because he still got a win. I mean, he still made triple what he invested in originally when he bought this property. And it helped me and helped him. So it was definitely a win-win across for all of us.
Yeah, you solved the problem for him, right? Which was, and that's what a good investor does. A good investor solves problems constantly, every day,
Right.
right? And when you're doing a deal like this, you're solving that seller's problem, whatever that is. And it was a quick close and for sure close, right?
Exactly.
And that's what he needed, and you gave it to him, right? That's super awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say, just the other day, we were in multiples with 33 other offers yesterday in Durham. So, obviously that strategy is not going to fly in that circumstance. But yeah, when you've got something that sits on the market for a while, that might be that right there. Maybe start looking for stuff that's been sitting for a while.
Yeah, and
Don't be
and you gotta
competing with
stay
everybody.
true to your numbers too. That's another thing. I
No.
mean, I do see this quite often, especially newbies that get in the market. They try to polish their numbers, right? Like they say, you know what, instead of 5% vacancy,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
do 3%. Oh, capex, no, it looks like the roof is fine. Let's just make it 0%, right?
You can finesse that spreadsheet to make it work out if you want
Right.
to. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't want to be the winner. If I'm the guy who in 30 multiple offers is the person who won, you lost, man. I don't care. You're not an investor. That's not an
Exactly.
investment. There's something going on with that. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not a realtor, so I could say that, but like, I just think that you got to be careful, right? Because then you get emotion gets involved. And you know, it stops when emotion starts to get
Yeah.
involved, it becomes a different type of purchase.
Yeah.
So it's okay if it's a principal residence, and that's the reason why you're buying it. And you know, you're willing to overpay because it's something different. But an investment, you have to be careful.
I mean, again, like if you want to talk about things like that, it's like Mark Loeffler. Mark Loeffler always famously says, everything I bought, even if I paid too much for it, I look like a genius in 5 years. So there is a certain in multiple offer situations. My advice is always, you don't want to be the winner going like having buyer's remorse, right? Nobody wants that. So
Or negative $1,000 a month cash flow, right?
well, yeah, you've got to put in the offer that makes sense. And,
Right.
and if you get it, you're happy that you got it. And if you didn't get it, you did your best and you're not willing to go any higher than what you put on the table. So you kind of look at it from that point of view.
Yeah, and I explain the same thing even to my clients, because like it's very easy to get emotional, like Quentin said, especially when they're looking for the primary investment, right? Like their primary residence, you can say. But again, we go back to the drawing board. We say, what's the most important thing that you need, right? Like scale it down, and then most importantly, what is your maximum budget? Like, are you willing to negotiate with the seller to say, hey, I'm going to give you another $10,000? Are you going to be upset if something that you wanted to buy, you lost out on $5,000 or $10,000? If the answer is yes, go with your maximum from the beginning, because especially in the GTA, like you're getting outbid and outdone every single corner you look at. So again, stay true to your numbers, but don't oversell yourself and overcommit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, just to your point on Loeffler there, I mean, he's been a friend of mine for a decade, and he's not gonna let emotion drive a business decision, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're all talking about here. So that's awesome.
So now we talked about the win, but we still got to talk about the challenge, like the obstacle that you overcame.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the biggest challenges that I had initially starting one was, contracting, right? Like I didn't have a team of contractors really. I kind of jumped into a lot of these projects blindly. You can say the first thing I was concerned about one was like, let me find a deal. If I can find a deal, it goes back to money, people, deal, right? Find a deal, the money will come and the people will come, right? You can source it out, leverage your network. I think networking is the greatest thing we can all work on, I would say, because talking to folks, I can say, hey Rob, I need a contract in Costa Rica. I'm sure you have like 4 people you worked with already, right? So it's about knowing folks around their area that will make you or break your investment, so I would say. So I leveraged networks to get contractors in place, to get financing in place and so forth, right? So that really helped me. And then from here on, I went, my next one was actually in Sarnia. So again, a market that I didn't even know much about. So I picked up 2 triplexes in Sarnia. Same thing. I looked at the deal. The numbers made perfect sense. I knew somewhat about the market, but I didn't know the in and outs of it. But I decided, again, same thing. Let me get this deal. I'll figure the rest later. I'll figure the contractors. I'll figure out the financing. And that's kind of how I've been approaching every single market, because as much as I like to, build around my backyard, it's just if the prices or the numbers don't make sense, I'm also open to other markets and whatever makes sense for me, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's got to be in your, it's nice when people always generally, I would say, invest in their backyard for the first deal or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to realize, I don't need to be that close. I don't need to drive by it every day. I don't need to walk up and touch it every day. I can if I want to, but I don't have to. So then that allows people to like expand and move out of their immediate areas, right? And look for the deal instead of just
Definitely.
what is around me that I can make work if I
Yeah,
have to.
it's a mindset, right? Again, it's end of the day, it's a mindset. It took me a while to get over that because first, like if you have to map it out, again, I went from Toronto to Fort Erie, an hour and a half. That was a big challenge for me. I'm like, whoa, that's so far. From there, I went to Sarnia, which is even 2 hours away from me, right? And then that's how it is. Like I'm progressing and I'm investing, this whole barrier of location or proximity is non-existent anymore, right? I'm more comfortable to say, you know what, maybe one day I'll invest in Costa Rica or somewhere else or Mexico or something, because it's just a mindset thing. Like, as you progress, I think you get more confident, and as long as you have a good team around yourself, I think you can make it work.
I keep hearing Sarnia. I'm like, why Sarnia? What are the fundamentals that drive the investment in Sarnia? Like, I can see that there can be cash flow numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like, are there any fundamentals of the market that appeal to you that kind of drove you to get to that point where you said, hey, I think this is going to be cash flow positive, and there's this. What do you think that is?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Sarnia is known for their chemical valley, right? Like that, a huge component of that market is that industry. So it is very driven by that, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon, the way I see it. In fact, when I was looking into it, I forgot the name of the big corporation there, but they invested another like 100,000, or another $100 million to I think create another headquarters right in Sarnia. So that's going to create jobs. That's going to create stability, right? And also that a lot of people don't know about Sarnia is like it's so close to the border, and the beach is beautiful. So if you're on the north side of Sarnia, Airbnb is going to be just amazing cash flow if you can get into that. But for me, the reason why I primarily got into this one was because what they were asking for the property was like unbelievable, right? So just to give you guys some numbers, I bought one triplex for 190, the other one I bought for 160. So again, those numbers just stood out to me. And yes, they were occupied, they had tenants, but I worked my strategy in terms of getting cash for keys, getting vacant possession, and then doing the renos, right? So I did have the tenant turnover, and once I refi, both of these are going to be home runs as well, just like my Fort Erie.
That's awesome. What kind of rents are you getting on those? So what type of suite mix is it, and what type of rents are you getting?
Sure. Yeah. So one of them is it's a bachelor. It has another bachelor in the back and 3 bedrooms upstairs. So that one is actually a single family that they were using it as a triplex. So I'm in the conversion process. I want to get it legally converted. It probably doesn't have much to do. I'm in the permit stages right now. We're just working with the parking and so forth right now, and probably has to do some fire coding. The other one is a legal duplex. That one needed a lot of work. So I did renovate him, and they're fully tenanted right now. So upstairs, I'm getting 1,100. Main floor, I'm getting 1,350. It has a garage. I'm renting it for another $200. Basement is going to be done as well. So I'm expecting at least another 900 there, plus hydro. So all in all, like it's easily over $1,000 cash flow, like, and with these properties that I have.
And like, so for that one, for example, the last one you were just talking about, what would you be looking at as a legal triplex refi value?
Right now, yeah, the Sarnia market has picked up. Oh man, quite significantly. I was just looking at a couple of listings right now. I'm seeing duplexes listed for 450.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna give me 450, but let's be conservative. I think it'll be about 400.
So there's a spider on me. So is it going to? So it's going to be a duplex. You're going to refi it as a duplex.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it
Okay.
depends on which lenders you go to, because certain lenders look at the legality of the property. Others look at the unit. So if they look at a per unit basis, then I'll be fine, right? But even if it's a duplex, I think because I literally renovated like front to bottom, it's going to go appraised for about 400.
Okay, and that was the one you bought for
160.
160. How much did you put into it?
Renovations will be roughly around 60K.
Whoa. That's awesome. Very good. That's what I like to hear. That type of a deal is really good. So you're going to pull out all your funds plus a little bit more then,
Absolutely.
and you're going to cash flow positive at least $1,000 a month on each. So that's going to help tremendously for that financial freedom piece, right? You get a couple
Absolutely.
more of those, and then you're good. Could you think you could replicate that process again in Sarnia? I mean, now with the current prices?
Yeah, I'm actively looking. So I mean, one piece of the puzzle that's missing in my business is getting off market leads. I have been primarily working on MLS, and as we know, MLS is very competitive, and you don't see many at those rates. But I am keeping an eye on it. Actually, in fact, I just put another property under contract. I'm going to be checking it out this weekend. It was listed for 200,000. It's a duplex, again, just right across mine. I am not sure what kind of renovations and whatnot it needs, but again, if it's very similar to what I had previously, then more than likely I'm gonna tie that up and then again do a BREI on that project.
That's awesome. I think if you can scale something like that and get as many as you can while the numbers work, and with a couple of partners, that would be an amazing kind of scaling business that could really grow. And I totally get what you're saying with the off market stuff. I've never even bought an apartment building off like an MLS. So, and we're at like 17 buildings now. So
Wow.
like, it's you're right. You do have to work harder to do it, but you seem really driven. You have like a great determination about you. And so what's next for you?
Yeah, definitely. So it's just I'm at 20 units. Goal is now to double it. It's double or nothing. So it's like you said, I have a goal in mind, and I am going to be like a father soon. So my Y got even bigger.
Yeah, congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully a baby will be around me in a couple of months. So we're close. But that's what it is, Quentin. I mean, like I said, it goes back to why I'm working so hard, is because I want to be able to retire myself, hopefully my wife, have generational wealth for my kids, and the other generation upcoming, and also retiring my parents. I mean, they deserve it. They've done so much for me, so this is the least I can do. And the way I see it, I mean, if I can make this happen, and again, coming from a different country, I think anybody can. And that's why I have like a podcast and a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to educate, because it really is not rocket science, right? It's just about planning, being committed to it, and then executing, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
I'm predicting you triple. That's what I think is going to happen.
Oh, are we betting? Oh man, all right.
I love it.
So
love
he's
it.
got triple, and you're saying double. I'm gonna go for quadruple.
Okay.
Hey, remember, it's quality, not quantity necessarily. But,
All right. Okay.
yeah.
How about we do cash flow numbers then? That's my favorite. Let's say my guess is that by the end of next year, that his cash flow will be 150% of what it is this year.
Oh, there
How
you
about
go.
that?
That's perfect. Yeah.
We should
That's
like
check
that.
very
on that.
doable.
150%. Okay.
Yeah.
That'll take you, based on your other numbers there, that'll take you well on your way to that financial freedom that you're talking about.
So before
Yeah.
we have to go here, let's talk a little bit about your podcast that you mentioned there. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so it's called the Real Estate Golden Nuggets. I started that podcast again as a way of giving back to the community, and basically sharing my experiences and my guests' experiences. So I have folks, like yourselves, that will be featured on there. So a good way to educate folks who are looking to get in, or scale their portfolio. Podcasts are fantastic resources. There's not many Canadian content, so I figured, why not start something of my own as well to get to folks that are new, especially. And as I'm sharing my journey, hopefully that inspires them to continue and growing their portfolios as well.
Absolutely. And it's called
Real Estate Golden Nuggets.
Golden Nuggets. Okay, beautiful. I love that. I like that. Because that's what we need, right? We need the golden nuggets.
Correct.
After let's say after a couple of years of investing, you can obviously learn from everybody's story, but it's really down to those golden nuggets that we all need for value.
sure.
So beautiful. I like it.
That's awesome. And it's really good because if you're just starting out, you're going to have different, insights than somebody who's been doing it for 20 years. Sometimes I don't appreciate some of the things that other people appreciate. And that's what other people need, right? They need those stepping stones. If you can find somebody who's, a year or just 2 years ahead of what where you would be on your journey, that's usually a lot better for you than somebody who's 10 or 20 years ahead. Right? Because they'll be able to provide those golden nuggets like you're doing in your YouTube show and the podcast that can help them to bring them along. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm also like, by doing this, I'm getting a lot of people's names out there. There's a lot of newbies, new investors or intermediate investors, and many people don't even know who they are, right? So it's a good way to get their names out there. So like you said, every story has golden nuggets in it and we can all learn from it. So that's the whole idea of that podcast.
Yeah. And I will tell you, man, when we first started, Quentin was our first guest. And I was so excited because I was just like, man, I'm going to ask him everything I want to ask him for like an hour. So this is amazing. Yeah,
Definitely.
Absolutely. Okay,
and now I'm here, and you know what? I was even nervous coming on, so it's kind of cool to have the cycle kind of come back.
Okay, so Ross, tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is my handle, ross.nedaee. I'm very active on social media. And of course, you can search me on YouTube as well. Same thing, ross.nedaee. Feel free to message me. I mean, I'm always communicating and speaking to folks, even people that just have questions and they want to run numbers. I know I'm not the guru here, but by any means, but I try to help any way I can. So I'm always looking to network and connect with folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again for sharing all of this. We do appreciate it. So, and we'll talk to you in a year maybe and see, get the update. Yeah,
150%. I'm telling you.
Absolutely. If Quentin said that, now it has to be done. Yes.
Otherwise, you'd be like, I'm too busy. Maybe call me back next month. I'll see if I can come on. Or you might be calling us a month or two early saying, I need to get on there and share this.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And Quentin, how can people get in touch with you?
I would really love it if you subscribe to my podcast, getrealwealthy.com. You can pick up whatever your favorite podcast device is. My goal is to get 100 downloads in one episode, which I think is quite doable, but I'm far away from that. So if you would mind doing that, that's great. Or you can catch me on social media at QManREI, on Instagram and Twitter. That's my handle there.
And that book that you mentioned, people should really go out and pick that up.
That
is the golden nugget right there. And it's called?
Well, the Action Taker Real Estate Investing Planner is
That's your newest one?
My second newest one. That was the one for.
Oh, yeah, you've got it all marked up.
Yeah, I do.
You're reading it going, wow, that was a good tip I had there.
Honestly, I use everything. It's a journals, right? So like I use everything that I put there. So like that's what it's there for. And then I've got a book on scaling, which is around raising money, but it's not really available on Amazon. But the other 4 books are available on Amazon.
Awesome. Look it up, guys. Quentin D'Souza. And of course, so Quentin and Ross's info will be in the show notes, guys. If you want to reach out to them, just go into the show notes and all the contact info that they shared with us is going to be in there. So you can reach out and talk to them about all of this stuff. And anyone who wants to reach out to me can reach me at rob@mrbreakthrough.ca. There's been a bunch of people reaching out to me and asking me questions on Costa Rica, and I am more than happy to share with everybody. So please do that. But again, everybody, thanks for listening. Once again, we'll see you soon. Have a great one, everybody. See you next time.
Sandy will be back, I'm sure. Don't worry.
Sandy will be back next time. Okay, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good one.